So today I'll be sharing 5 steps that I believe are pretty universal about how I became a channel, and I think they all apply to you, and you can let me know. There's also a final step, a 6th step that's a little bit controversial that I'll share at the end, and we'll just see what you think about that. You can let me know in the comments. My name is Karen McMullen, channel for the Grand Reorganization, and author of the book Alchemy of Consciousness, and the forthcoming book, Awaken to Your Starseed Mission. So I'll be posting my channeled messages a couple times a week starting now, and I'm really excited. So please subscribe below, like this video, comment. All that really helps me with the YouTube algorithm so that I can grow this channel. Thanks so much, and let's get going. So let's start with a definition. What is channeling? The definition according to the dictionary is 1, to direct towards a particular end or object, or to serve as a medium for spirit. I believe that channeling exists on a continuum. On one side, so many of us have had the experience of being in flow, and we know what that's like when the personality isn't really there and all that's happening is the body's moving or the voice is speaking, and it's almost as though we're just in flow with spirit or with consciousness flowing through us. I think that's something we can all relate to. And then in the middle, we would have being accessing your intuition or getting messages. So a lot of especially women in awakening know what that's like to be intuitive. And then full on channeling is, I just feel like, another expression on that continuum where the personality is out of the way and messages are flowing through you. So the first step that I took in becoming a channel was I learned to meditate. And this was a process I believe began in 2011. I had a teacher. I learned TM meditation, where you have a mantra. And so I was horrible at meditating. I had such a busy mind. I was growing my business. I was really in hustle mode. I was constantly stressed and anxious. And really, it just, my mind is natural. I mean, many of us have such a naturally busy mind, but my mind was like busy on steroids because I'm very creative and I'm always getting new ideas. So learning to quiet my mind was really a big deal, and it took years. It took years to really find a quiet place inside of myself and practice. So that might be naturally easy for you. I'm imagining it is. A lot of the people that I work with and talk with have already learned quite a lot about meditation. So, but yeah, that's an essential skill, is to be able to quiet your mind, sit in stillness, and then let the personality fade into the background. Let your identity with your desires and wants and needs and concerns kind of fade out and merge with all that is, merge with consciousness itself. So you become the soup rather than the little carrot in the soup. After I learned to meditate, the second thing that happened was I made a choice to surrender. So at the time, I was very successful in my work. I had a good relationship. I had a great lifestyle. I was traveling around North America speaking and doing workshops and being a coach. And meanwhile, I felt this ongoing anxiety and discontent. And it was very disheartening because I thought, wow, I've created everything I want. So why am I still unhappy? And then I looked at people in my industry that were even more successful, that have $1 million personal growth businesses. And I realized that they still had that same kind of sense that I was feeling. So I realized there's no salvation in this material world through getting the things that our culture tells you that will make you happy. So at that point, I made a very deep choice to surrender my life to the will of God, or you could say universe, or all that is, to surrender my life to be of service to a higher power. And that above all, I just really wanted to know what the truth is of this world of life and to make sense of it all. And so I really deeply surrendered myself, my personality self, to that bigger desire. That one choice had a whole bunch of consequences. I pretty much let that business as it was dissolve. I ended a relationship. I moved to Mexico and sought enlightenment for several years until I ran out of money. But in the process, I did that kind of led me down the path of eventually becoming a channel. The essence of this step is to surrender your life to something greater than yourself. And I feel like this isn't for everyone, but this was definitely an important part of the process for me. And I'm curious how that resonates for you. Does it sound too extreme? Or can you resonate with that yourself? Have you already made that choice? Please comment below. I'd love to hear. The third step in becoming a channel for me was the moment that I started to take the time to go inward and to seek the truth and to surrender my life to something greater than myself. All of the gunk and unhealed wounds and messy mess from the past that needed to be cleaned up for me to be a clear channel to perform the will of God or to act in service of the universe and to become an adequate messenger, all of that gunk came to the surface. So the third step is to heal your childhood wounds and clear the pain body. Abuse, abandonment, isolation, jealousy, rage, frustration, lost dreams, painful experiences, painful memories, all kinds of stuff really came to the surface. And by being willing to heal, by facing that gunk head on, facing those situations, seeing them for what they are, understanding the energetic interaction that was taking place there, understanding the deeper truth, that allowed me to clear those experiences from my being, from my pain body, and from my emotional self. Basically all of those things were unprocessed emotions from the past. So by being willing to face them and understand them, I gained a lot of wisdom, a lot of compassion and humility, but also I healed myself and became more clear. And this step is so important because anything that's unresolved in you emotionally, energetically, mentally from the past, when you do begin to channel and you bring through very high vibrations, that's going to taint what comes through, because it's almost as though instead of a clear windshield or mirror, it's all gunky. And so it affects your perception and it skews the messages. So the more clear that you are, the more clear the messages that come through you will be. And so this step really, I feel, is essential. During this healing process, I also began to see how the self, the personality self, is almost just this matrix or a cobweb of emotions and thoughts and patterning that all interrelates. So for example, one experience in childhood that was hurtful or where I felt abandoned influenced all these other experiences that all kind of formed a cobweb that became the self, Karen, and how she behaves in the world and how she perceives herself. And so by teasing those things apart and beginning to understand these experiences and to heal them, the personality self becomes less fixed, less hardened, you could say, and starts to loosen up, become lighter, more transparent, and the shining light of God, of consciousness itself, begins to be able to shine through me and my essential self, my true prism essence, is the way I think about it, more clearly. So spending this time quiet and surrendered in meditation and also healing, what began to happen for me is that I started to hear my inner voice come through more clearly. So this voice would come through with short, simple, clear instructions. It never said anything in excess. It was always very direct. For example, I might wake up at 4 a.m. and hear the voice say, "Get out of bed." Whenever I heard this voice, I tried to listen to it. So to me, this is something that's like building a relationship. So imagine you call your friend and your friend never wants to go out with you, never wants to listen to you. You're less likely to stay in connection with that friend. And it's the same thing with this higher self or this voice of wisdom, whatever you want to call it or think of it as, is if you don't listen to it, if you don't obey what it says, then chances are I don't think that it's going to keep talking to you. So I always made a point of listening to this. And I think this comes back also to step 2, which was that I really made a choice to surrender to the will of God. So no matter what the voice said to me, I'd pretty much do it. For example, getting up early in the morning, that happened all the time, that I would get up really early, like 4 a.m. And I didn't want to get up. I mean, I liked being in bed. It was more comfy, but I did it because of this sense of surrender and obedience. Another example of this obedience was during one of my meditations, the voice said to me, "Cut off your hair." And my first thought was, no, there's no way that I'm cutting my hair. And I just dismissed it and went on with my meditation. But then I had this thought, I was like, oh wow, there's my personality self. There's my vanity and my sense that my hair makes me attractive, that it gives me value in the world as a woman, and that no one will love me if I don't have my hair. And so then I thought, okay, well, my vanity is obviously more important to me than being surrendered to the will of God. So in that moment, I made a choice and I said, okay, I'm going to deepen my surrender to this. And so I went outside and I just lock by lock cut off all of my hair. And yeah, that was kind of a wild experience, but basically, crazy. Right after that, I went inside and I just got this whole download of the love, sex, genius model that ended up being a core aspect of my work. I'm pretty sure I'll write a book about it eventually. I'm still researching it. So what I'm really trying to say here in this point is that when a little bit of a voice starts to talk to you, listen, actually obey it, listen and follow what it says. And that's building a relationship of trust. And that trust builds. And that's what happened for me. The 5th essential step in becoming a channel for me was that I actually carved out time to sit in stillness. And I feel like that's just basic, but it's something that I did. And so I wanted to mention it. That basically, I don't receive messages as a channel unless I make time for it. And so for me, that's early in the morning. In Ayurveda, there's this thought that between 2 and 6 a.m. is a vata period of time. And that's basically the element of air and ether. It's the time when we're all the most transparent between realms. And I have a lot of vata in my constitution, so I feel like that also makes me predisposed to being a channel. And some people that are more earthy, maybe it might be a little bit more difficult to channel. But those vata hours, those quiet, still moments of the morning before everyone else is stirring, before the animals are waking up, I feel like that's the most precious time to channel and to receive messages. And so I make a point of waking up early and then actually tuning in and, for example, even asking questions and getting messages. So that if you don't make time, you probably won't channel. And I do believe that's very important, but very basic. The final step that I'm not sure is for everybody, that's maybe a little controversial. I hope it's becoming less controversial because it's so valuable. And really for me, I believe it was essential in my process of becoming a channel, was that I used plant medicine as a healing tool and as a teacher. The primary plant medicines that I feel really helped me become a channel are yahe, which is a Colombian version of ayahuasca, rape, which is an ash and tobacco and herb mixture also from the Amazon, often administered with the yahe or ayahuasca. And then peyote, which is a plant medicine that's found here in the desert in Mexico. These plant medicines for me acted as teachers, guides, and healers all in one. So healers, they know what you need to become more whole, to become more well. So these plant medicines showed me aspects of my psyche that were not yet healed. They helped me purge unfelt emotions that were holding me back, and darker energies that were within me, and really helped me clear that. So the healing value of these medicines, I also feel like they rewired my nervous system, especially peyote did that for me. And then, so that's the healing. The guiding is, I feel these plant medicines also really help me align myself with my path. So the way I look at it is that I have an essential self, a true Karen essence that I'm meant to be in this life in my pure form, and I need to align with that essence and follow the path of the actions that are a natural expression of who I am. So, for example, I became a yoga teacher. I built my human design website based on these journeys. I built my Love, Sex, Genius work around these journeys that I had taken. So it really helped me guide my path. And by really staying true to those kind of instructions that I received, I also feel that I built the trust and the inner voice. So they all relate: the surrender, the trust, the quieting the mind. To me, they all just kind of dovetail into one formula. And then the final one is teacher. So these are teachers. These plant medicines have incredible wisdom innate within them, and to share it, it almost makes me just want to cry, because I'm so grateful to the wisdom that I've received from these plant medicines. I just feel in awe, really, of the value that they had to share with me, and it feels so generous. I really believe that these plants are just here to teach us and help us evolve. And for me, that was a big part of my journey. And for example, 3 days after a yahe ceremony with a Colombian shaman is when I began to channel the book Alchemy of Consciousness. That was just, in the morning, meditating as normal, and then all of a sudden the voice started dictating text, and it was very clearly different than what had happened before, because prior to that I had only been hearing the voice give short instructions, but then it began to dictate text. And so that really has a different feel for me than what I was experiencing previously, which was more like being in connection with God for some guidance in my life. But this was more, I'm actually receiving guidance. I'm actually receiving dictated text. I'm a vessel for a book that I'm not even writing, which is really kind of an unbelievable experience. So I'm curious, how does all of what I shared relate to you in your journey with channeling? Are you currently channeling? Are you on the path somewhere? Do the steps that I shared relate to you? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And I look forward to sharing with you the next video. I'm going to be sharing the message that came through for 2020, which is really powerful. And that's the next video I'll be doing. So please watch out for that. And again, subscribe below, and that way you'll be notified when that video comes out in a few days. Thanks so much for watching, and take care, be well, much love.